In July, Doak says she searched her syllabus, worried she'd violate it, but ultimately decided she wouldn't change.
What do you think this debate about critical race theory is really about?
Control. Control over what can and cannot be taught. But is it really avoidable? That's the question. That's the one thing that I fear. Is like, why are we trying to avoid something they already see?
Good morning. Hey, Noah.
Cecilia Robinson Woods is Oklahoma's only black female superintendent. As the law went into effect, she placed Millwood teachers through 4 days of training to assure them their lessons aren't CRT, they're just history.
Are you on an island?
I definitely believe that I'm on an island, which is one of the reasons I wanted to be in the school district. My board is all African American. They almost expect me to speak out because we know there's so many more that cannot.
A local conservative PAC published her photo in their newsletter, warning supporters if we continue to allow these kinds of superintendents, there is no hope for the future. As someone who's been identified by conservatives as a potential problem, are you worried?
I'm not sure what I'd be worried about. I answer to a local school board and I have the support of my school board.
But Millwood is the exception. Next door in Texas, several school districts are struggling to interpret new laws and protect employees. In Southlake, Texas, NBC News obtained exclusive audio of an administrator telling panicked teachers that they would comply with Texas law by balancing books about the Holocaust with an opposing view.
Make sure that if you have a book on the Holocaust, that you have one that has opposing, that has other.
How do you oppose the Holocaust?
What? Believe me, that's come up.
The district apologized, and the administrator in the audio has not responded to NBC News. In Katy, Texas, the school canceled, then postponed, an event with a prominent black children's book author.
So to be clear,
State Senator Brian Hughes is the author of Senate Bill 3, the second and most stringent of the anti-CRT laws passed in Texas.
When you look at some of what's happening around the state right now, you don't think that any of this has gone off the rails?
Oh, I think folks need to focus on what's in the bill and not what's in other states or what they've heard or things like that. And if we were to tell a little white children that they are inherently oppressors, that's not good. If we tell little children of color that they are inherently victims, neither one of those is good.
Was that the primary motivation for these laws? To make sure that white kids don't feel guilty?
So the bill is pretty clear. It would be wrong to tell white kids or children of color that they are limited based on the color of their skin or that they are guilty of because of what people of their race did in the past.
What about the teachers who say they're closing their classroom libraries? Or Dr. Whitfield, the principal here who's about to lose his job?
I would just ask folks to look at the words of the bill. The words of the bill matter, not the Facebook memes.
But do you have a message to them? I mean, is there something that you can clarify at a statewide level?
So what we've said, I want to make sure this is clear. So what we do not teach in Texas public schools is that one race is inherently superior or inferior.
I understand that, but I want to know what you think of the current lives people are living as a result of this entire movement.
Well, I can't speak to the national movement about CRT or what other states are doing. All I can tell you is what's in Senate Bill 3.
A group of Colleyville Heritage High students have led classroom walkouts and spoken out at school board meetings.
Vote to keep my principal. They fired the best principal that any of us have ever had in our entire life. Just because he's the first black principal and they could get away with it.
By dismissing the concerns of students of color, they're guaranteeing that that kind of behavior and thought processes can continue living on.
In a statement to NBC News, the Grapevine Colleyville School District said James Whitfield violated district policies, and the district has proposed the non-renewal of Dr. Whitfield's contract due to deficiencies in his performance as principal that have been documented and discussed.
The school district says that what's happened to you has nothing to do with critical race theory. Has this all just been a misunderstanding?
So it is interesting that they would say that. Promoted me twice in the last 3 years. What's changed?
And after months of anxiously waiting, students and parents packed into the Grapevine Colleyville meeting room as the board voted on whether or not to settle and formally separate with the principal.
And none of you can identify with the black man in America and his experiences, but he brought those experiences to our students. 2 of my kids were lucky enough to have him as an educator.
Dr. Whitfield has done so much good for the school and the community. Do better. Be
better. The entire nation is watching what you will do.
The very first resident to publicly accuse Dr. Whitfield last summer made the night's final remarks.
The question should be asked, how did we get here? Critical race theory, equity, critical race theory, equity.
At almost 10 p.m. that night, board members voted unanimously to let Dr. Whitfield go. School officials wouldn't speak on record with NBC News. But in a joint statement with Whitfield, the district acknowledging that both parties believe they are in the right.
Why do you want to stay around to the end?
I needed to see the look on their faces when they read that. The fact that they said that with a straight face, they're hurting students.
Love you, dude. Have a great day, buddy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have the best day.
You have the best day.
Where do you go from here?
I've got a family that needs me. It's bigger than me.
Whitfield still doesn't know where he'll work next, but worries educators are in peril.
I plan on speaking up because that's what you're supposed to do, right? But you got to think about what is that silence doing, not only for you, but is it being harmful to moving us along as a society?
My thanks to Antonio Hilton for that report and, frankly, her excellent reporting all year long on this topic. When we come back.
Okay. My thoughts about the first part. I work in the field of education, and I don't have a problem with history being taught. All the facts being exposed. I don't have a problem with that. My only problem is when they demonize a race and say that all white people are inherently racist. That's what they teach, that all white people are inherently racist, that they are evil. And also, I disagree with the Marxist influence on CRT, or critical race theory. I agree, slavery was a dark episode in American history, and yes, it should be taught. Just teach all the facts, and period. No need to demonize a race. Just tell it like it is. Just teach history. Teach all the facts. Every event, teach it. And also, I want to comment on what happened in Texas, about the principal that was removed. I think both sides need help, because then you have the other side that oppose it, and they immediately took a swift action against that principal, and then he was removed. I'm against that. I'm about teaching history. And people who oppose history, well, they got a problem. They have a problem with the truth, and too bad that they have a problem with the truth. But I'm all for teaching history and teaching the truth, not demonizing people by their color of their skin. That's my opinion. Thank you.